Hello everyone, and welcome to another Stellaris video. Today I'm really excited to show you guys a very fun combination of civics that creates a really ridiculous early game job type that can be used to slingshot you into the mid and late game with a nice early game advantage, and you can play the clone army origin on top of that since only the civics matter for this. And what we're doing is we're playing Fortune Enterprises and Chosen Executives. These two civics together give you some absolutely ridiculous bonuses to your bureaucratic efficiency. In addition, with the chroma logs, can get some truly ridiculous output from these fortune tellers, which produce both trade and unity from your normal spiritualist jobs. So yeah, this is really fun. Clone Army also helps because it'll give us early game pop assembly where we normally don't get very much as an empire that is looking to ascend into Psionic. And then after that, we can rely on what another commenter left me, which is that resort worlds can be used as a mid-game source of pop growth when you're playing biological empire. So thank you for all those tips. And we're going to go ahead and take these in-game to play a really fun build. We're going to be playing on Grand Admiral with Iron Man with the regular multiplayer Galaxy settings. So let's go ahead and get started and see how we can do. This build won't be focused on like year 30 timings or anything like that, but instead will just be a basic kind of fun idea and a showcase of the power of putting these two civics together. And yeah, I think the biggest strength of this is going to be the early game unity in combination with the trade. The amount of production, let's take a look at these fortune tellers right away. Right at the beginning of the game are already producing a pretty ridiculous amount of resources. If you take a look at this, each 100 fortune tellers is producing like what, 6 unity and like the whatever 56 divided by 3 trade is, which is definitely a lot. And in addition to that, you can also choose a starting chosen. We're going to choose the composer of strands. And the main reason for that is not anything in particular, to be honest. It's just the fact that it's the easiest one, or not the easiest one, but the hardest one to get attunement in. So if you start with it, later on you can more easily visit the other quadrants, although we do have to ascend into the composer now, which it can be seen as a good or a bad thing. So depending on what you guys are looking for, you guys can pick another quadrant. I haven't quite worked out exactly which one would be the best for this build yet. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get started. I guess the first thing we're going to want to do is probably do a unity rush, so we'll just start out with temples on our capital and then work up from there. I think what we're going to want to do also is we probably want to immediately go into something like a civilian economy and then turn on veneration of saints, and at this point we should be making a pretty good unity income, and our trade should increase as we increase the number of temples. As soon as we can afford it, as you can see we're making a ton of energy immediately, is we want to kind of convert some of this into minerals, and then we can use these minerals to go ahead and buy our next district here. And we're just gonna do kind of a standard early game start. If we want to really rush unity hard, we can even go into mercantile, adaptive economic policies, and turn on the unity trade policy, which will turn some of our trade, which is currently making energy, into unity instead, which you can imagine would be very powerful. Other than that, we're going to start with our first colony ship as well, and also start exploring out into the galaxy as we normally would at the beginning of any Stellaris game. Other than that, we're just going to focus a lot more on temples than we normally would, and try to also maintain just enough consumer goods to keep the empire balanced. However, we're gonna do the kind of chaotic thing, which is immediately try to build the spiritualist enclave after this temple is done, and then we can focus on fixing the consumer goods afterwards. And as I mentioned, once you take the adaptive economic policies, you can immediately go into your trade policy and turn on the marketplace of ideas. This will give us a nice boost to our unity. And whoa, abandoned worlds there. We can also go ahead and go to colony of creation and just reroll anything that we get that's not easy to do, and something easy like colony of growth, we can go ahead and leave that there until we finish it. And yeah, just remember to check it and make sure you continuously do whatever task these calling cards give you, and if it's impossible, re-roll it and get an easier one. Because in general, you'll be able to find at least some of them should be pretty easy. And yeah, it sucks that we get so many tomb worlds, as we can't turn a tomb world into a resort world, so we're going to have to keep looking for more worlds here. Other than that, let's just continue with our unity rush. As you start to get more spirituals knows your trade is really good. We are producing a already ridiculous amount of trade, but it's only going to go up. Also, you can look for a trade focused leader. I don't think we're lucky enough to have one here, unfortunately, which is okay. Um, but yeah, look for a trade focused leader. Also, you want to start to buy a good chunk of consumer goods. It's okay to buy even when you're positive because we won't be positive in consumer goods for very long once we lose our consumer goods district, right? And also remember, you can build clone vats as needed, as this will help with your pop assembly speed quite a bit. So as long as you can afford it, I would also recommend building clone vats whenever you can. All right, everyone, here at year 6, basically our entire planet, home planet, has been converted into a massive spiritualist enclave, and as you can see, it's producing a very good amount of trade and a decent amount of unity. The unity definitely could be better, but we're expanding the council instead of doing the unity-focused agenda because we really want the counselor that improves the efficiency of our bureaucrats by 10% per leader level, which is something that we get from, I believe, the chosen executives civic, which is very, very cool. So we're going to go do that. So yeah, the beginning unity is not as strong as it could be, and since I forgot to go statecraft second instead of prosperity, we could even have gone statecraft before we finish mercantile. To be honest, it's going to be a little bit delayed, which is a bit of a build order mistake, but not too important for a more casual single player game like this one is. Um, and in the meantime, we're also just building up our second planet here, starting with clone vats, and we'll probably just make this into something like a basic resource world, mixed between energy and minerals, and then we can go ahead and turn the remaining colony into a tech-focused world, and then our capital can be a mix between spiritualist enclave, and then probably later on into industrial resources, alloys, or consumer goods, or both, depending on what we happen to need at the time. Um, I will certainly probably convert one of these spiritualist enclave districts into a specific research type before we militarize our homeworld, as we're going to need to catch up on research after our Ascension rush is done, because we are certainly really lacking in research, especially right now. Um, and, just some other details about playing this build. With Clone Army, you get a really nice bonus, which is you have access to clone vats right away. And even though they're not very efficient in the early game, um, you still get to keep them, right? And these clone vats are really, really useful because once we descend and we stop getting the boosts from the ancient clone vats, which are truly ridiculous, giving us 22 monthly organic pop growth. Once we stop getting the benefits from that, that's when the regular clone vats will kick in and become one of the primary sources of our unity. Also, we have one more planet here. Since we're lucky and we spawn with 3 ocean worlds, I'm not going to take the 4th ocean world until later on in the game, where it's likely you guys could have found another at least semi-decent planet to go habitat to go take yourselves. And also, in case you're unaware, as usual, I will include the general build guide and description in a document below, so you don't have to follow the video exactly, although watching is very much appreciated if that's what you want to do. Anyhow, we're just going to go ahead and just continue to develop here. We are running a little bit low on consumer goods. You know what? I might do it the other way. I might do our capital as a tech world and this new colony as something to maintain consumer goods. Oh no, I won't need to maintain consumer goods because as soon as I'm done the Unity rush, we can just give up on consumer goods. So I might build something like a single civilian industry on this planet or something, and I'll just continuously build a civilian industry every time I need to maintain the basic economy. Other than that, we're just gonna focus on trade and on basic resources and then on tech. Yeah, I think that's going to be our configuration here. All right, we're going to go ahead and turn on education campaign now just because we happen to have enough energy credits to keep that going anyway, and expand the council, and we can put in the Grand Preacher plus 10% output per leader level, and plus we're oligarchic, plus we have statecraft for +1 effective leader, so that's immediately a plus 50% bonus to our effective counselors, to the effectiveness of those fortune teller jobs. And as you can see, we see a corresponding enormous bump to the efficiency in them, which is truly awesome. And then we can also go ahead and take something like mind over matter here just to get the psionic theory research tech as an option, and then we can go ahead and start to do some more useful ones after that. And yeah, it's just awesome. Like, look at this. The amount of trade we're getting is truly ridiculous for just 1.8 thousand jobs, and in addition to that, we're getting an enormous amount of unity to help us rush into Ascension. And once we are ascended, we can obviously use that to also um, continue scaling up in our Unity, and we won't have to focus on anything Unity for quite a bit of time after that. And I think here we're going to go with Tech Ascendancy, simply to prepare for the fact that we will be tech rushing very soon, although currently we are definitely lacking a little bit of tech. So we're just going to have to build up the old-fashioned way with city districts and a specialization zone. I don't want to build the labs because I want to build the specialty labs once we finish the research for them, which is going to take forever given our terrible tech state. But we'll get there eventually, and we can also just go ahead and buy the basic resources we're lacking since we have more than enough trade to make that happen. Um, Also, we can use some of these spare alloys to start turning our star bases into kind of like mini resource deposits, which are also pretty nice. Um, so yeah, this is going quite well. And now, without even having Evolving Society active, we're making 529 Unity per month. We have great attunement with the Composer already as well. We should reroll this one though. Terraform a planet. Alright, can't do that. We'll be rerolling that as well. And 200 trade in addition excess with a stable basic economy, which is very nice to see. And we're close to Ascension here at year 15, so we don't even have to go with something like Teachers to ascend quickly. Instead, we can do something very focused on economy and having a ton of spare pops. So after we're done Ascension, even though we're Clone Army, right, we're going to have a ton of pops around because we're going to have almost 10k pops built up across our empire, which is going to be very different from the normal Teacher's experience where it'd be, I don't know, 7 or 8,000 pops and then spend forever trying to catch up in that. But Clone Army having, the crazy growth that it does at the beginning will seriously help us out with that. Alright, once the dig site finishes on your capital, which hopefully you have been doing, if not, go ahead and start it. You want to go ahead and select No, We Shall Face Reality. This is a event that pops up based on, you finishing the dig site, and then after that you can go ahead and either do the other dig sites around your empire, which I have quite a few of by happenstance, or just continue to survey out in the galaxy. I guess what you'd normally do with any other normal empire. And yeah, at this point you might notice that we're also kind of really struggling now to maintain our consumer goods situation. And very, very soon that will be resolved though, because we can swap over to a consumer goods trade focus and then go all in on technology. Currently, we're like building up our technology planets, and we can swap one of the districts on our capital over to additionally support our technological goals. Alright everyone, once you get access to the psionic theory technology, this is about when you want to swap one of your research districts on your capital over to society. I already have a society district on this tech world, and that should boost our society tech up to a point where we can kind of start to think about going into a tech focused build, as our Ascension situation is essentially almost done here. Another thing you can do is, if you're starting to struggle with consumer goods, you can go ahead and swap over to a trade policy that gives you consumer goods. Do note that after you do this, you'll have way too much trade and not quite enough unity. So I would try to leave the unity focus on for as long as your economy can sustain it, just so you'll also have enough unity to finish up the psionic tradition tree when you can. So try to leave this unity to at least, I don't know, say 40, 50,000 before you swap over, and then you should be very safe. And if you want to be a bit more risky, you can swap over at like 20,000, and it still should be enough. But just in case it isn't, it can be a little bit of a problem sometimes. And as you can see, we're kind of piling up on the amount of things where we kind of want society tech for it. So alright, our psionic tech is nearly done, so I thought this would be a good time to transition my economy into a civilian consumer goods economy. And check this out, when we go into this, our consumer goods are going to go through the roof, over 200 consumer goods, so we obviously won't need to buy any consumer goods anymore. And we can also go ahead and, if we want, put our species into utopian abundance. Just the additional happiness can sometimes be useful, and honestly, selling even this amount of consumer goods won't yield us much benefit anymore because it's simply such a large amount. The price is gonna drop through the floor, and then we can also spend this extra trade that we now have to relatively inefficiently, however still valuably, buy up a treasure trove of basic resources, so we don't have to focus on that. And yeah, that's looking very, very good. So 2 months until that finishes. Let's just go ahead and fast forward that. And there we go. Yeah, at this point, we're also now free to research anything else like the xenobiological lab. We should really get that done. And also dip into psionics, which is very, very nice. Go ahead and take our psi core as well. And then, yeah, we just need to find somewhere to put it, I guess. So, yeah, don't need this anymore. So we can go ahead and drop that for a psi core. And then on this world as well, drop the civilian industry for a psi core. And you guessed it, build a psi core on our last planet as well. These buildings are really awesome. And they give you telepath jobs. And in case you don't know, telepath jobs are one of the main reasons why psionics are strong at all. So, yep, go ahead and take those. And yeah, in the meantime, we're just gonna try to speed up the psionic situation. We can do that by getting a zero deposit on our capital by selecting this situation here, material and meditation. And after some time, a zero deposit will appear on our capital, and we can then research the tech to go harvest that. And now also I decided to research the biocipher code as I really want to colonize this planet here, and before the colonization is finished, I need to finish researching the biocipher code. And essentially what this will do is it'll destroy the ancient clone vats across our empire and then allow our pops to reproduce naturally. Oh, we get a psionic disease. That's just lovely. I'm not sure which option I want to pick. I guess prioritize therapeutic applications sounds like the thing that would not tick off the composer of strands, so that's fine and dandy right there. And let's also go with afterburners. Doesn't really matter too much. And did we lose a leader to that? Yeah, we lost a head of research. Of course we did. I guess we could just take more statisticians now and find a new leader to dig up this um, thing. So I guess we'll just hire them and get them to no, not survey. Yeah, there we go. I love the auto surveying, by the way. It's very, very useful. Everyone should use this. In case you don't know, you can click this button and then get your ships to automatically do whatever you want by selecting the things you want them to do, which is just something very nice. And we're going to go with clone fertility as well. Clone potential is interesting, but yeah, we have to go bio ascension in that case. And I actually have no idea what happens. I can't. Can you even go bio? You can't go, or can you double ascend with this? The cloning ascension path will be upgraded. The purity mutation will be blocked. So I guess you could double ascend with this because I don't think this checks for if you're also psionic already. So that's pretty funny. All right, guys, we're halfway through our psionic situation. At this point in time, there's a couple things we can do. First of all, we can go ahead and finish off this tradition tree. I think we'll be a little bit of Unity short, which is no problem at all. And we can also go ahead and exploit the zero deposit in our capital that should have appeared by now and select the distribute zero. You can wait for this to finish or you can just select it and eat a small penalty when you go negative inevitably, but it's fine either way. If I don't do it now, I'm going to forget. So I'll just click it now and eat the penalty for a little bit. And yeah, in the meantime, we can just keep continuously upgrading our other worlds, our home world as well. Why not? I believe I have the xenobiological lab, and I've probably had it for a while, so I could have upgraded that quite a long time ago. I just forgot. And yeah, I guess we could also put a little bit of food on our basic resource world here. Also mineral extraction, which is nice, and a mining subsidy. Yeah, and just remember to manage your economy. Uh, I would also recommend going into militarized economy at this point as well because you should try to build up a forge world. If you only have 3 planets that are habitable, try to find one more planet to use as a basic resource world and then convert your basic resource world into an alloy world. The strong shall survive. Invest in a psionic implant. Uh, yeah, honestly, I don't really know which one I want to click. I'm just gonna click on buttons, and yeah, slowly work towards that full psionic ascension, which is getting really close. And we have now made contact with the Shroud Walker Enclave. As soon as this happens, usually near the end of your psionic situation, go ahead and buy a teacher from them. Uh, this will probably be your best long-term governor. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead. Ooh, factory focus. We really don't want factory focused. Uh, yeah, well, I'll leave that off because I'm gonna try to roll anything but factory focused. Because we will not be working any factory jobs. We're going to be getting all our consumer goods from trade. As you can see, we're not working a single consumer job anywhere in our empire, I think, if I've done everything correctly. And we can now focus on starting to build up our alloy economy. Alright, our Psionic situation is done. Time to breach the shroud. We'll probably have to breach a couple times before we get access to the Covenant leader, which would definitely be something nice. In the meantime, I guess we're going to be building some resource silos as we're actually full on minerals, which is a little bit embarrassing. I should definitely queue up some buildings because, yeah, there's a lot of buildings I need to make anyway, so might as well get something out of that. And yeah, I think on our capital, we want to, at this point, remove everything except for city districts, and then we can just buy up the basic resources we come to lack. And yeah, we get access to another Ascension perk as well. We're just going to hold off on this for now, as I definitely want to go with something like Ecumenopolis's, but we're going to have to wait for the tech for that. So yeah, we're just going to keep waiting for the tech. And I just got offered this really awesome Paragon leader. This is a great leader because they are just an amazing analyst for your planet. So yeah, it's nice to have that, and we can probably take them as a chosen for later on as well, which will also be very, very helpful. Um, yeah, in the meantime, we're just going to continue researching techs. I mean, the main goal at this point is to find the Ecumenopolis tech. We have enough minerals to start an Ecumenopolis. Our capital is ready to be an Ecumenopolis, right? We just need the Ecumenopolis tech. Another thing we do need is a source of energy credits and resettlement. We need to turn on resettlement because I believe we need to start migrating some pops over to this planet to just keep things balanced. And also, we need to just buy a ridiculous amount of energy credits to maintain our economy here. And I guess we need to keep buying resource silos at this point as well. And we get to delve again. This is the one sad thing about chosen executives. You can't forge your own path. So you have to just forge a covenant with the first thing you get, which, for me at least, is the composer of strands. Um, and yeah, I guess at this point now we can also just start to look for the other entities in the shroud there, because yeah, I guess we don't have much else to do. And yeah, I guess yeah, our techs are flying through, but it's still going to be a while before we probably find some of the techs we need. And here we get to confirm the covenant, giving us some extra bonuses from telepaths. And ooh, we get the mark of the composer. To be honest, I don't think I've played with the Mark of the Composer yet. I have no idea what that does. What kind of building is that even? I realize I never built the Sanctum of the Composerizer, which is a bit funny. And here we get to pick our... Oh, we don't get Cronin the... Oh, we do get Cronin the Afflicted. Perfect. And they can be our chosen. And... there we go. An immortal, awesome leader to boost our tech. Very, very nice. And yes, it's not as powerful as a Shroud Shaper leader, but the Shroud Shaper leader is completely bonkers. And unfortunately, we won't get access to that here, but we still should be able to scale quite well. Alright, everyone. So once you finish your third civic tech, which we now have, you kind of have a few options for which way you want to go. The first one would be worker cooperative. This one is pretty interesting. It essentially replaces all your need for basic workers with you get it from trade, except then you have to produce your own consumer goods, so I think it's pretty bad. And then there's other options that you don't get benefits from them right away, but have really powerful effects if you build towards them. And we're probably going to use one of them, which is mutagenic luxury. Except I don't want to put this on my main worlds this time, as it makes your planets really annoying and hard to manage. So instead, we're going to wait until we can do something else. Another one that's good is Dimensional Enterprise. Is surprisingly not bad, because it makes your fortune tellers produce physics tech, which you can take sometimes if you plan to, say, not go into pop growth right away, which is definitely an option for us since we have a decent number of pops already. And also, we don't even have the Resort World tech to make mutagenic luxury really good yet. And I think we're going to go with Dimensional Enterprise. And the reason for that is we're just going to get some physics tech in the meantime. And then once we get the Divine Sovereign, it'll reform our government and allow us to reform our government again. And once that happens, then I can reform my government back into a government that has the mutagenic luxury, and then we can start our pop growth phase. In the meantime, we can just pick some generally useful counselors. Remember to always put a Grand Preacher, as the Grand Preacher is just super, super strong. And then, other than that, not too important. I guess we'll take a Shroudwalker teacher, to be honest, because we really don't need a Minister of Defense with 0 ships. But we are building up a decent a bit of alloys in case we do need to militarize at any point. Obviously, very small for this late in the game, but we are focusing mostly on tech rushing right now. And yeah, the techs that we want, which are uh, what's it called? What's the tech called? The Resort World and the Ecumenopolis are just staying away from me. So unlucky. Sometimes it'd be like that. Also, you may have noticed that I let a few of my basic resources drop into zero. Yeah, you really shouldn't let that happen, as you have more than enough trade to just buy whatever resources you need. And they killed my Minister of Research. Oh no. Whatever, we can take an investor. That makes me feel a little bit better. And we get to delve into the Shroud again, too, so... Benign King, nice, communicate with that. Oh, that's really good, because we want to form a Fed. And I forgot to mention this, but we want to form a Fed with ourselves. And to do that, you need to find a system that is 5 or more jumps from your capital, and has a planet. So that is exactly this system. Unfortunately, it is a size 22 world, which we would love to have, but honestly speaking, there are a lot of... Man, I wish I had cloaking tech right now, but I always ignore cloaking tech when it pops up. But yeah, I'm kind of regretting that now. Let's go ahead and send this guy over there. And yeah, we can also just build out start bases over there and get ready to colonize this guy. And yeah, you're digging, so yeah, you're the one who needs to go survey that. Alright guys, here at year 38, we finally got some luck, and we just finished the research for ecological adaptation. No, this is researches I am about to do. I just finished the research for a resort world, and this is really nice because now I can finally start to think about where I want to put my resort world, and it's undoubtedly on one of these tomb worlds, which means I'm going to need to terraform it. Now, in order to terraform it, we're going to need the terraforming technology, which is why I've taken adaptability. Adaptability is underrated, and even though it's not the best, it does give you the one nice benefit of giving you the agendas to find all 3 of the main terraforming technologies. Terraforming, adaptive habitation, or whatever it's called. Let me check what it's called. I forgot. I just researched it, but I already forgot. Ecological adaptation, and then climate restoration, which is what lets you restore tomb worlds, and that is what we want in general. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and continue to scale up our planets and find that tomb world, hopefully. And are we getting bombarded by something? Of course we are. Is it the void worms? Of course it's the void worms. Do we have... No, we have no physics research, right? Well, we're gonna have to use the physics research. We do have to try to find that, or we can just build a fleet, I guess. Yeah, that's probably the easier way. Alright, we just got the archaeology project. I guess I'll start the archaeology on my capital, and then I'll probably do my tech world immediately after. Our tech world is also ready for an archaeology project. You know what? Can we afford the minerals for it right away? Yeah, we can. That is insane. I mean, that's the awesome part about playing with these fortune tellers, right? Is you just get such a ridiculous amount of trade. Everything is much cheaper than it appears, as we just like passively produce an incredible amount of trade. Also, I'm testing out a new way to defeat the void worms. I'm not sure if it'll work, and that is I want to try putting a star hold and then a target uplink computer, and then I think in theory the starbase should be able to hit the void worms and drag them off my capital. If not, we'll build a fleet, but I just want to try it out. Alright, it didn't work. The target uplink computer is done, but my platform still hasn't engaged. And there's one more trick I have up my sleeve to see if this works, and if it doesn't, it probably doesn't work. And this is a funny idea. It's basically, if you ever want your platform to always engage, you can put a hangar bay in it, and then this hangar bay station will send the strike craft out to engage onto a fleet, no matter how far it is, and then that will drag the fleet towards the starbase. If you're ever playing a build that involves a very large starbase station, I would almost always recommend building at least one of these engage class platform designs, and then no matter where somebody flies into your system, the strike craft will engage, dragging the fleet into the starbase, which is a very, very cool tech. And as you can see, it worked on the void worms too. So in case you guys ever have a void worm problem and don't want to build a fleet, building a starbase, starhold platform, and a target uplink computer, and a single defense platform is obviously cheaper, and it's something you can do. So yeah, there we go. It did work. Alright, another thing that has just recently happened is I've colonized this size 22 world. Unfortunately, we're going to release this as a vassal. So what we want to do is create a new sector. Then we want to go into our planets and sectors manager here. Wow, that's a lot of planets and sectors in our area. And we want to go ahead and go to, no, planets and sectors. My bad. I accidentally clicked expansion planner. I was like, I'm not used to this view. Yeah, the expansion planner is not the most useful thing in the world. Oh, we made communications with another empire as well. Let's go ahead and then edit sector. And you want to remove any systems that, like, first you want to turn off auto expand, then you want to remove any sectors, planets that aren't in your sector, and then after all that is done, you can finally go back to planets and sectors and create a vassal. We don't really need to select a name or anything like that. And there you go. All of a sudden, you have a lovely vassal here. Also, we can go ahead and colonize these planets. I just realized these are perfectly good planets, and I should colonize them. And colonizing these planets has just made me realize. I also have ecological adaptation, so I can always colonize first and then deal with other aspects later. Also, there's like 3 tomb worlds here, 2 tomb worlds there. We should go colonize all of them, because they're all in our home sector, right? And I even miscounted. This place is already 1 jump out of our home sector. So, anyhow, what we're going to do is, first of all, select our leader traits, because otherwise the little exclamation mark there is going to bother me. The second one is I want to check, and unfortunately, oh, wait, ecological adaptation might be part of the chain of agendas you get, but there might not be an agenda uh, for the next one, for terraforming tomb worlds. What's that called again? I said it earlier, but I already forgot. You know what? Instead of making a fool of myself, let's just click expand the council. Hopefully we find it naturally then. You never know, I guess. And then in the meantime, yeah, all these texts and stuff interrupting me. Yeah, now we can finally go ahead and release the subject, and then establish an embassy with them. And now we can go ahead and form all the packs. And this will do 2 things. It'll give us somebody to um, we can make them into a federation. B, we can go ahead and gain attunement with the Cradle of Souls here, and we ran out of food again when I'm not paying attention. So, yeah, essentially all you need to do is, it's pretty simple, is you need to requires positive relations or 20 trust. So I guess we'll need to wait a bit and, yeah, just improve relations for now. And then later on, we can go ahead and accept these packs and get really good attunement with the Cradle. So we're going to go ahead and wait a bit and then do that. All right, we finally have enough trust with these guys to start making packs. So the first one we want is a migration treaty. The main reason for that is just it's the first thing in the Cradle of Souls is things here. So let's go ahead and put this on fast because it's not going through. Okay, there we go. And now we can go ahead and kind of do all of these calling cards, see what they give us here. Okay, well, that one's not doable, so whenever you get something that's not doable, you just have to wait a year and then come back to it. Alright, once the calling card is refreshable, we can go ahead and refresh it, and hopefully we get something that's good. Establish a migration treaty, are you kidding me? That's the one we just got, we can't make another one. Maybe there's another empire somewhere which has enough trust with us for a migration treaty. This is really wishful thinking, by the way. I believe there was one other empire somewhere that offered me a migration treaty. I don't see where their freaking capital is, though. Or was it... Oh, it was the Civilian Council, of course. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, well, another year wasted. Alright, also, these 2 colonies we made earlier are finally done, so we can go ahead and make them into a resort world, which is instant and very nice. And then we can start to build up the attraction districts, which we're going to use at some point. For now, we only have resort districts available, but when we reform our government, we'll be able to get some more. I don't know when this will be reformable, either in 4 years or when we get the Divine Sovereign, which we're yet to get, which is a little bit unlucky, I have to say. And yeah, in the meantime, I guess, oh yeah, we can focus on continuing with forming this covenant. That's what I was trying to do. And finally, some good deals. Form a trade agreement. Do I already have a trade agreement? Oh, shoot, I already have a trade agreement. Does this work? I'm pretty sure this doesn't work. I'm pretty sure that doesn't work, but we can pray. One can pray. It didn't work. Okay, I give up. We're just gonna go ahead and form every damn pack that we actually need because I need this trade federation at some point. So let's go ahead and make that trade federation. I was trying to do all these guarantees in some order that would help me finish getting the attunement, but it's just going to take too long, so we're just going to go ahead and do this now. And yeah, the reason I want to do this is our energy credits are becoming unsustainable, and this solves that immediately. I guess we'll just get attunement through the shroud instead. We seek further attunement, Cradle of Souls, and this just takes forever because you only do it once per 10 years. And I guess we can do the rest with envoys, you know. That might be the way to go here. We can do the rest with envoys, and hopefully we get some more reasonable agreements later on. And our alloys are full, so yeah, I guess that means it's time to finally build a fleet. Yeah, my tech is not the best, so my ship designs. Yeah, blue lasers at year 50, guys. It's not the best. It's definitely not the best, but I guess we can just build some ships so that they can hold alloys instead of having them go into the void. Oh, the Mark of the Composer is a ship component. Cool. I don't even know what it does, but oh, that's really good. What? Um, I like that. Okay. Let's combine that with a reactive armor and an afterburner, and like artillery computer is probably good for a ship design like this. And yeah, we'll upgrade this obviously as we get the opportunity to, but for now this is just a alloy sink so that we don't have maxed out alloys, and we can actually have some relevant amount of fleets. And look at the expense of this, or like look at how much like trade we have, and lack of consumer goods is pretty crazy, eh? So let's go ahead and buy some consumer goods, and yeah, we can form a galactic market as well. And yeah, we should be scaling pretty good now. So very awesome. We can assign a leader to the Fed. All is going well. Guys, I just realized I have orbital ring tech. I did not realize that. If you guys ever hit orbital rings, I'd recommend building them right away because they are really, really strong. So yeah, get some construction ships and build yourself some orbital rings, guys. It's completely worth it. They are one of the most powerful technologies in the whole game. Ooh, what's going on over here? Uh, what's the problem? Do you need a break? Can we do anything to help? Are you okay? Uh, oh, nice. Okay. That seemed to be a good thing, but I was too lazy to read it. And oh yeah, we also just finished the technology for terraforming tomb worlds, so we can finally go ahead and terraform some of these tomb worlds into beautiful oceans. Um, Although we will need to buy some energy credits for that. Luckily, we are not lacking in energy credits, so very, very nice. We can go ahead and terraform these all into ocean worlds in due time. And whenever you do terraforming, just activate the gases edict. It's like 2 gases, like it costs us nothing. Also, as you can see, we're 5 months from finishing our tradition tree at just year 53, which kind of shows the power of these fortunes. This is a size 29 barren world. Wait, that's amazing. We got to take that. That's very close to the maximum size barren world, I believe. So that's really cool. We got to take that just because it's a bit cool, you know. All right. Another thing I think it's time to do is it's time to take mutagenic luxury. Never mind. In 5 months, it is time to take mutagenic luxury. In the meantime, let's finish our tradition tree. This is just pretty. This is definitely the fastest I think I've ever finished my tradition tree, besides from virtual builds, which is very cool. Which just shows you the extreme power um, of these jobs, right? Like this is not that many. 3,500 producing 3,000 trade is really ridiculous. This planet isn't even like dedicated to these fortune tellers, and they're still producing such a ridiculous amount. There's no Fallen Empire scaling yet, like through like what is it called? The Galactic Commerce Hub that gives +1 trade per pop and that kind of thing. Like just we have a lot of amazing bonuses missing, and yes, we're still producing so much. So that's a really good sign. And I think I do want to play until I get the Cosmogenesis buildings, just to kind of see how far we scale and how powerful this build can get. So I can like do a judgment on the scaling compared to some of the other builds I've showed recently. Although certainly without the exponential scaling that we get from something like really broken like the Shroud Shaper, this will never be as strong as that. Um, However, it is really fun in the early game, getting a ton of unity and that kind of thing. So I think it's definitely worth trying out, and it could be one of the stronger things that is not banned, I would say. In addition, there is one thing that is extremely underrated about a build like this is if you're playing as a team or with your friends, they can also play as a megacorp of any kind. and get enormous benefits from building a branch office on your capital, stealing some of that trade for themselves. It's not stealing, it's benefiting from your trade in addition. And teams without trade-based builds will almost never be able to keep up with teams that have trade-based builds as part of their empire, right? So yeah, I would highly recommend that everyone know at least one trade-based build if you ever want to play with your friends or just collaboratively. It is super useful to know. Anyhow, in the meantime, now that we have mutagenic luxury, we can go ahead, go to this world here, and turn this into a pop assembly juggernaut. Or we don't have it yet. Now we do. Mutagenic luxury. Let me make sure this is the right one. As they always name everything differently for Megacorp versus not Megacorp, which always gets me confused and makes me do stupid things every now and then. Anyhow, we have averted that situation here. Let's also go ahead and reform our government. By the way, it's been 20 years and still no offer for the Divine Sovereign, which kind of shows just how RNG getting the Divine Sovereign is. And I remember once I waited almost 30 years for it, and once I got it in like 2 minutes. So yeah, there's a big difference there, and yeah, it can definitely make a really big difference in the power of your builds as well. So don't feel too bad if you're really far ahead or really far behind of where I am, because do keep in mind it could be because of just game RNG that makes it really inconsistent to repeat builds in Stellaris, to be honest. Um, yeah, also let's go ahead and place the mutagenic spa down. I'm curious to see what kind of bonuses we'll be getting. In testing, the pop growth speed you get from this isn't absolutely insane, but it's decent and it doesn't require you to make all of your other worlds really funny in order to make it happen. So, yeah, this world is also still very small with very few pops on it, so it won't be too efficient yet. Like, yeah, I doubt we're getting much growth. 0.7, yeah, not great at all, especially since you can't put a clone vat on this planet. But let's just move a few pops over and see if it gets any better, just to give it a fair chance, you know? Oh, right. This planet is a desert planet, so all my pops are always going to be really depressed on this planet. That's fine. We'll fix that soon enough, as it is turning into an ocean at some point. Alright, everyone. As we head into the late game, I think one thing is clear. The resort world is a bust. By the time you have enough pops on it for it to become a good resort world, it still doesn't produce enough pops for it to be worth it. Yes, we could probably get to like 30, 40 pop growth if we maxed out this planet, except at that point you might as well just have that pop growth on an Ecumenopolis, which has the actual, jobs that you want at the end. So not the most efficient. Yeah, I think if you need pops for a build like this, the easiest thing to do is still go and do Conquest. Go and take over some other biological empire, and you'll have better luck that way. The other issue is, of course, related to the pops, is that you can't get enough naval cap, so you're going to have to put a lot of star bases into naval cap, or a lot of pops that you don't ultimately have due to being fully biological. I would say if you want to play Fortune Enterprise with chosen executives, definitely take a robotic species portrait and play as an individualist machine. It would be a lot better. This was more of a for fun experimental build than anything practical, and kind of here just to show off the power of, our good old fortune tellers here, and it was definitely fun. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. And I'm not going to play to ultra late game because I don't think we're going to scale very hard. I mean, we're making 3k tech at year 71, which is not bad. 500 alloys. Like, none of these are bad stats, and we're done our tradition tree ridiculously fast, which I think is very cool. But yeah, ultimately, if you want to play this into the late game, I think there's no other option except to play as individualist robots. Yeah, with machine assembly, at least you can get Fallen Empire machine assembly plants, and with those you can get enough pop assembly to really fill out these planets. But with organic pop assembly, mutagenic spas, it's just so much more awkward and less efficient. And while it is possible, like I played games with 60 pop assembly, which I would say is enough to fill out these super large Ecumenopolises, you need to play a long time before those come online. So yeah. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.